In this video, we are looking at one of the most practical patterns in FastAPI, dependencies that use yield. If you have ever needed to open a database session before a request and reliably close it afterward, even when something goes wrong, this is the feature built exactly for that job. Imagine every route that touches your database needs to open a session, do its work, and then close the session whether or not an error occurred. Without a clean solution, you end up writing a try finally block in every single handler. That is repetitive, easy to forget, and when you forget it, you get leaked connections that silently pile up until your database runs out of capacity. Think about a library checkout desk. The librarian handles the paperwork before you take the book, and again when you return it, regardless of whether your visit was successful or cut short. You, the reader, just focus on reading. A yield dependency plays the role of that librarian. It sets up the resource, passes it to your code, and then cleans it up once your code is done. A yield dependency is just a regular Python generator function that you register with FastAPI's depends mechanism. Everything you write before the yield statement is the setup phase. FastAPI runs it, takes whatever you yielded, and injects it into your root. Everything after the yield is the teardown phase, and FastAPI guarantees it runs after the response leaves, even if an exception was raised inside the root. Let's walk through this. We create a SQL alchemy session, local factory at the top. Then comes the dependency function get_db. It opens a fresh database session and enters a try block. The yield statement pauses get_db and hands the open session to whoever depends on it. In this case, the root read_item, which receives it as the parameter db. When the root finishes, FastAPI resumes get_db, pass the yield, and the finally block runs db.close. Guaranteed, whether the root succeeded or raised an HTTP exception. Internally, FastAPI uses Python's contextlib.context manager machinery to turn your generator function into a context manager. When a request arrives, FastAPI resolves dependencies in order, running everything up to each yield. Your route function executes with the injected values. Once the response is built and sent, FastAPI exits each context manager in reverse order, so teardown always fires. This means you get the safety of try finally without writing it yourself in every route. Use yield dependencies whenever your code needs to release something after the route finishes, database sessions, file handles, transaction contexts. The rule of thumb is, if teardown is required, yield belongs there. Skip it when you are just computing or reading a value. A plain return is simpler, and a future reader will thank you for not adding generator machinery where none is needed. To summarize, a yield dependency splits into two phases, setup before the yield and teardown after. FastAPI wraps this in an implicit finally block, so cleanup never gets skipped. This pattern is the standard way to manage database sessions in FastAPI, and it composes cleanly with all of FastAPI's other dependency features. When no teardown is needed, stick with a regular return and keep your code as straightforward as possible.